Hello everyone. This is going to be a new sit-down Sunday. For this time, I'm going to be the one presenting the whole thing. This is going to be about the modding documentations, how you can navigate them. I'm going to also explain how to set up a basic modding environment, how to contribute to other projects and make your mod open source, stuff like that. And then I will finish on showing how people can contribute to the modding wiki and other existing documentations. I guess we can start with some simple questions. If any of you have questions to start off while we wait for others. I'm not doing that much. So the wiki is fairly up to date overall. I haven't noticed, or at least no one has found anything like bad in a way. Like usually pages that are noted so you have pages that are still noted as 42.19 or even lower. When they are at 42.19, you are like practically sure they are up to date. There's no issues with it. When it comes to all the pages, it really depends. When it comes to specific guides that were made, they are not sometimes not up to date. So if I show you, for example, so I have a slide that I'm going to present later, and there's a category with guides, should be that. So a lot of these guides are not up to date, mostly these ones. So you have the trait mod, it should be up to date, and you have the flyer one is not up to date. It's too old. You can see it like it's at the start of the unstable. So usually you may not be able to trust these pages. If you're wondering, if you find such a page and you don't know if you can trust it, don't hesitate to ask. Usually either I will have the answer or others will. I think the clothing page, the problem is that no one has created it yet. The basement one, I'm not sure. I think it might be up to date, but you have to see with the mapping guys for that. Oui, je suis français, oui. You don't need to download any mods for the debugger. When you launch the game, if my Steam can launch. So you need to trigger with a launch argument for the game to mark it as debug mode when you launch it. So when you go in your game here, you go in properties, and in this category, you have advanced users can use modifications to launch their game, and you just add this, and this is going to launch your game in debug mode. Oh, my bad, wait. Here. So to show it again, when you go in Steam, in your game, properties, and in here you can write the debug argument. You can find more information about that if you search for the launch, the startup parameters page. You will find different launch arguments. Some of them are Java, the JVM launch arguments. So you can like customize the amount of RAM you give to the game. But there's a bunch more. The two most interesting ones for modding are going to be the debug one. So this one, it's going to launch the game in debug mode, and the IMGUI one. This is another debugging tool that you can use. It's not well documented and not many people use it, but you can, for example, see the different UI elements that you have on screen. You can modify some physics parameters and stuff like that. I'm going to show that a bit later, Mars. I've got a whole thing prepared for that. Do you mean like to make mutant zombies? So you can already implement custom zombies. There's plenty of mods that did that, even with custom animations. When it comes to implementing new animations, it's almost never a question of which software you're using, but that you're exporting it in the right format for the game to read your animation files, and that you implement them well in the game with anim nodes and anim sets. The difficulty is setting up anim sets, so basically setting up the whole logic behind the triggering of the animations. And usually you kind of have to fight it for zombies for different reasons. So Anim Z, there's a lot of things being said about it. The thing it's going to help with is not implementing custom zombies. I have seen, for example, Mr. Atomic Duck talk about that, but that's just not true because you can already do that. It's not going to make this possible. It's just going to make it probably easier, but you can kind of like it's not that easy, I guess. We'll have to see how the tool goes, but it's going to make the whole scripting part of implementing the animations easier. And there's probably going to be other neat tools to check how you transition between animations to make it better, smoother. But you can already implement new zombies. So that was going to be part a bit of my slide, but I'm going to show it here because I did work in the past in making custom zombies already, and you can already do it. I had made this framework to make it easier to implement zombies, and I made The Last of Us Infected to implement custom zombies. Yeah, it was a bit of a suffering. Modding zombies is overall a lot of suffering because there's no API for it, and when there are stuff you can use, they even removed them for some stuff, or at least like they are not available anymore for the security due to the security patch they did like a few updates ago, where they removed reflection. So the guy that has to fix my mod, good luck with him, and good luck to him. And it's really, really horrible. The best mod that did it was Bandits, because Bandits uses zombies to implement NPCs. It depends what. It depends what. When it comes to Lua, you can do a lot. For the male and female models, you can find them in a specific page. If you go on the wiki, you go in the character rigs wiki page, and you're going to have a list of different rigs to animate, make renders, or work on clothing and stuff like that. Usually, the older the systems are, the harder they are to mod. For example, the animals that they implemented, they are way easier to implement to a point where I seriously think that if you want to make like monsters, for example, you won't go with the zombie system, but you go with the animal system because it's easier to control them, to modify them, to implement animations. There's some bits that are not great, but overall, it's way easier to do anything you want. And you can even do some cool stuff with animals where you can basically add evolutions to them. Because the way you implement, for example, babies for your animals or them growing up into adults It's basically an evolution. Yes, it's my video is still useful, yes, because it presents how the whole system works, how the whole API works. Yes, evolution, yeah. And the API didn't move in 8 months, or at least like, yes, you have some functions and stuff like that that are not available anymore or that are new. You've got reflection that got removed. I think in my video I talk about it. It's you can't do that anymore, but overall it didn't change much because in a few months, so Indistone is not going to remake the whole system, the whole API. It will be a bit insane. So you mean like to implement the fence hopping animations? It was horrible, to be honest. Like, it's really not great. Okay, so this sit down Sunday, we're going to talk about documentations, the modding work environment. So basically, how to set up like your modding environment to not get confused with things, to use the proper tools that are available and made by the community. I'm also going to talk a bit about some guidelines and best practices in general. And I'm going to talk about contributing to the different documentations, or at least the main ones. So for those that don't know me, I've been modding since the start of 2024. I started with The Last of Us Infected and Zomboid Forge. So Zomboid Forge was a framework I made to implement custom zombies. It was my first modding project and big coding project in general. So there are some stuff that are really not greatly implemented. Today, if I come back to it, I will go a bit crazy. And but I was still proud of what I did with The Last of Us Infected, and it got a lot of attention where I really loved modding and I continued. Then I went and did some smaller mods here and there, with my next bigger one being Check Around, where I used some ray tracing basic implementation to check if there are zombies above the stairs, behind doors and windows. And my final and current project for modding is Horse Mod. I'm working on it with 7 other people, and I'm mostly in charge of the code, the scripts, and stuff like that. And then later, at the start of 2025, end of 2024, I decided that I will contribute to the documentation for modding. My main motivations for that were that there's not a lot of people that did documentation, barely anyone, and the few that did it used either the wrong tools, had outdated documentations, or were not here anymore to update them. So basically, the few documentations we had, we were parting to each other's, but they were not really good at all. And that led me to create a whole environment for documentation with a GitHub organization as a PC Wiki modding organization where I created Z scripts. I also created the project Zombo data and the project API docs that maybe some of you already know about and that I'm going to talk about a bit later. I also made some video guides on YouTube, so some of you may already know me from there or already saw my videos, and I also made a Steam uploader tool to upload mods to go around all the limitations that the in-game uploader has. So to get started, you're going to have different sources of truth, basically, in the game. And that is the different documentations that you have available. The main one at the start of the pyramid, which is the highest level of trust that you can have, are the game files. Because the game files are always going to be the last up-to-date information you have. And so anytime you want something very specific, how the API works and stuff like that, you shouldn't trust the rest, but you should go straight to the game files. But the problem with this pyramid is that usually the higher you are at the higher you are at the top of the pyramid, the harder it is going to be to use it. So the game files, the problem is that it takes time to go in the files to find what you're looking for, and that even depends on whenever you can trust it or not. The second source of truth is going to be the API documentations. So that is the PZ API docs that I mentioned as a slide before, but that's also going to be the Java docs and the Lua docs. These provide in-depth on parameters, properties, functions, classes of the game that you can basically trust like almost perfectly, because usually they update quickly after the game. Most importantly, the Java docs and Lua docs, they are automatically generated. Then you have the modding wiki and Discord. So these ones are a bit like interchangeable. The reason being that the modding wiki is going to be fairly up to date, but mostly it's a community thing. So anyone can come and fix the documentation. Currently, it's mostly me on the thing, but the idea is that we need people to start working on it and help me document stuff, because alone I can't document everything, and there's stuff that I don't know about, that I haven't mastered, and so I need you guys to basically help us with the documentation. Because when you're an expert in the field, the idea is that you can provide help to others the same way you got help thanks to the modding wiki. And so I rate it fairly high, mostly because you can easily modify it. But the thing is that when there's an update with the game, you may talk with others on Discord to get more information or get specific help. And sometimes you can trust more the Discord than the modding wiki, because by the time we update the modding wiki, maybe someone already found out how to do something. So both are kind of at the same level, to be honest. Just reading the messages quickly. Yes, Mars, I need you. The next source of documentation you can have are external documentations. So I mentioned before that the reason I got into working on the wiki is because we can't trust them. The issue is that the GitHub documentations are GitHub repositories from specific modders that they made. It's nice from them, but the problem is that by the time they did it, they didn't fully grasp the whole thing, and they made outdated documentations that they never come back to. There's a few of them that are listed on the wiki. So if I go quickly on the wiki to show it, you have some modding guides that are listed here, and you've got some. So some old one, for example, is a documentation by Wolf. This is a documentation on GitHub, and the problem is that it's just outdated. Well, interestingly, he just actually archived the repository last month. I didn't know that. That's interesting. So yeah, you can't trust this documentation. It's quite old, but it doesn't mean it doesn't explain some interesting stuff. The next source of information are going to be the forums. This one is a bit at the same level as the external documentations, because the forums, there's not many people that use them. At least in active modders, you usually find them around Discord, I would say, or you just don't find them anywhere. But the forums tend to be outdated. You will have some guides made by the Indystone there, but they are outdated too. So you have some mapping guides, a vehicle guide. I think you can follow it fairly well, but the moment there's a wrong information, good luck with that. Because either you're not going to notice the mistake, and you're going to make the mistake in your mod, or you're not going to use the best way to implement the mod. Because even the IndieStone doesn't present things very well or the most optimal way to do things. And finally, the level of trust, the documentation that you can trust the less is going to be LLMs. The reason is not that they are bad at documentations, but it's that when you start with modding, you're going to ask a question to an AI, it's going to tell you something, and if it has the wrong information in memory, or it tells you something wrong, you won't have the ability to say, okay, what he told me is wrong, and I should probably not trust it, because you just started modding. So if you trust the LLM, it's going to give you an answer, and you're just going to blindly trust it. So you should be very careful with these things. But of course, this whole list is going to be my vision of the whole thing. Because in reality, you have Steam guides that are really well done. You have a gun guide on Steam that is done. It's up to date. A clothing guide, it's fairly good too. And LLMs, you can do something interesting with them, which is to provide them the game files to look for stuff. They are going to find your information in them, and usually they tend to do it fairly well. Yeah, exactly. The LLM is going to maybe, and especially if your prompt is wrong, it may just give you an answer and tell you you are right or something. So be careful with that. So the modding wiki, you usually start with this wiki page. This is going to be the base to search for things in the wiki. You're going to find different informations. So these things I probably need to update to the stable now. The terms and conditions, this is some basic stuff. Maybe you can read it at least once. And you have some restrictions, informations about commissions. So if you want to commission another modder, we have something in this Discord to commission easily if you go in the request agreement. And the idea is that we give some basic guidelines to users and modders on how to handle commissions. You have different communities. So you're in one, the Project Zomboid modding community, but there are other ones that are more specialized in a specific topic. You have the mapping Discord and the cinematic animation Discord. The mapping one is, well, for mapping, obviously. And the cinematic animation Discord is specialized in renders. So if you want to make animations for YouTube video or even for your own mod, for a preview or something like that, you should probably ask there how to get started. You have the modding projects. We're going to talk about it a bit later. The API documentations, I'm going to show it a bit later if you want, but it goes in depth on what the game provides, basically. I will show you how you can find the different API documentations too. We're going to talk about the different modding fields after. So the way I've organized the wiki is I've split up different fields of modding into different pages. So you're going to have some generic pages on how to get started with mods, some interesting information. Mostly the mod structure one is a central one. So you should take note of this one and check it out, because it's going to explain to you how you can set up your basic mod to get started and start working on Lua, scripts, models, etc. You have the game files, the file formats. Some stuff in it are a bit outdated, but you will find interesting information. But I moved some information inside the modding fields pages. So for example, for modeling animations, I've moved some stuff from here into these pages because it's easier to find them this way. So the modding fields. This is split up in these different categories. It may move in the future, or you might see one removed or one new one. There's a page that wasn't created yet, but I hope to get started with it or have someone start on it. It's the texturing page. It's not created for now, but I consider it as a separate modding field as from the modeling page, for example. So you're going to have the Lua API that's all around Lua. The scripts that are used to implement items, vehicles, models in the game, and they don't use a specific programming language. They are not a programming language. They are just a scripting language, and you basically make some definitions of your items and stuff to implement. The modeling, there's some information about it, but you can use whichever software you want to use. Usually people use Blender because it's free, easy to use, or at least easy. I mean, to get started, no. But once you got the hang of it, you can quickly implement models. You got the rendering page, so that's linked to the project Zomboid Cinematic Discord, mapping, translations, animations, and the Java. The Java and the Lua are a bit linked, but the Java page goes more over implementations of Java mods. These are a bit annoying to implement because natively the game won't load Java mods from the workshop, and you need at some point to either install manually the Java files or you need to install a Java mod loader that will do it for you. You can find different pages for these either by clicking in this menu here. You can also find them by going in the modding category. Add these links. So if you go, for example, in the category modding, you will see different categories based on the modding fields. Some don't have categories yet because they don't have enough documentation. But hopefully, if more work is put into it, you will find categories for each of these. And you can find some random pages that are not stored anywhere here. You can find some useful pages for each modding field in the modding page here of things that may be useful if you start working on this. And then you have a section about random modding guides. Each modding fields are going to have their own modding guides on the page. So like, for example, a firearm clothing guides are going to be linked in the modeling and stuff like that usually. Some generic external resources and random stuff that were not like organized on the wiki yet. All right, so how do you actually use the modding wiki? Because I told you about different things you can find, different elements here and there, but how does the interface works? Because one thing that confuses a lot of people is that this is way too crowded. And I can't deny it, to be honest. The modding, like at least the wiki in general, can be a bit crowded with too much information. But usually it's also a problem of not being used to the tool. So I'm going to show you a bit how you can use it. So I've already shown you this top bar where you're going to have the different modding fields to quickly access them here. Usually at the end of the wiki pages, you're going to have a navigation. If you open it, you have a bunch of pages that are sorted by categories, but they are not always all in this list. If you go back at the top of the page, we're going to have the different languages. Currently, since I'm alone documenting on the wiki, you will likely not find pages that are properly translated, and I wouldn't trust them because the problem is that the modding wiki moves a lot. Because it's young, it's only a year and a half old, so a lot of stuff are still moving, are still changing. So watch out when you read the translated pages. And you're also going to have a feedback form that you can use to give some feedback on the wiki, what you think, what is wrong with it, if you get lost in it, etc. You also have a section usually that I keep with the latest modding news. So this time it's going to be about the build 42.20, the stable release, and you have a lot of new stuff. To get these, it's not from the official patch note. Yeah, it's a lot of reading. And it's not from the official patch note because they didn't really give us anything about modding. Sometimes they do, but usually they don't, or there's a lot of stuff that are missed. And I simply went through the game files and looked through what changed to get a list of what may be interesting for modders. Of course, there's some stuff that I probably missed, so don't take this as granted. Maybe in the future there won't be these. It depends, really. But if you find something, don't hesitate to tell me, and I can add it here to the list. So you have categories for the modding and other stuff, like I shown you before. In these categories, you will have other categories, other pages. It's going to be a mess. Sorry about that. Sadly, we don't have a different organization available to us, but you can find other stuff that are interesting. So if you go in the animation category, for example, you can find pages that are related to animations. All right. Another interesting parts are going to be the modding projects. You can find them in the header here to the modding project page. The idea is that there's a lot of tools that you or other modders created, and we need something to know what was already created. Usually some of these are already shared in important pages. So for example, you have tools like Umbrella, the Java docs, the Lua docs, and the PZA API docs that I mentioned before that are easily found in the wiki in the relevant pages. But there's other stuff that were made and that are available, and they are listed in this category of the modding projects. So you have rules to, like, I guess, submit a modding project. It's not about like who you are, stuff like that. If you want to create a page about a tool you made for modders, feel free to do so. The main rule basically is that you should not make a wiki page about a mod that is made for the players. Usually if you made like a library that you share on the Steam Workshop, for example, the best is that you share it, is that you can make a page, a modding project page for it. But if it adds like, say, guns, clothing, and stuff like that, it is made for the players, so keep it outside of the wiki. Just going to read the messages if I missed anything. So there's a lot of stuff that are. So you mentioned the planning mode. I think you're talking about a debug tool, no? Or do you mean the mapping tools? There are some tools that are not yet documented. A lot of debug stuff. That's something I will tackle on in the future, where I will do a sweep in the game, go through every tools. Okay, how do you use them? What they are for? But currently, it's not well documented. So some interesting projects that you're going to have, they are separated in different categories. You're going to have some assets. So for example, assets that you provide for modders for their mods. or for renders, stuff like that. You're going to have debug projects. These are usually tools in-game or outside to debug the game, your mod. You're going to have external tools, some libraries, some mapping projects. So for example, some tile sets, the mapping tools, the unofficial mapping tools, I mean. You're going to have animation projects. So usually these are going to be character rigs, some Java projects, so some Java mod loaders, like I mentioned before. And you have a bunch of interesting ones. You're also going to have communities, like I mentioned before. You have this community where we are, the cinematic animation Discord, and the mapping Discord. Some tools related to Java, Leaf, Necroid, Zombie Body, the Zomboid decompiler. We're going to talk a bit about it later. You've got the Lua docs, the Java docs, and the PZ API docs. So these are the API docs I mentioned before. The Java docs, there's an official one by the Indie, but it's outdated for build 41. So we have unofficial ones we made ourselves, made by Albion in the channel. And these are generated via the Rosetta projects that provides tools and documentations about function, classes, and a lot of stuff. The PZ data is used to generate the PZ API docs. That's something I've been working on. You have character rigs, like I mentioned, for animations. The community rig is probably the biggest one currently, made by Puddlefruit in the server. And it can be used for renders, for in-game animations. It has a lot and lots of neat tools to make it very easy to use. So some of you may already know the videos by SQZ. For example, there are guides on how to make Project Zomboid renders. They are a very good starter, but in his video he explains how to put clothing on the character, how to create a skeleton and stuff like that. This community rig basically does it for you. Yes, you can rely on Zombie Buddy for Java modding. Currently, there's not a lot of like big modders, I guess, that use it, but it seems to be the biggest project right now that is supported and used by different modders. And like Aoka mentioned, you simply install Zombie Buddy and you can load Java mods directly from the workshop. There's also Leaf by Aoka right here. She's working on it right now, but it wasn't doing well, at least the last few months. She can tell you about that herself. There's also Necroid, it's another Java mod loader. Please stop doing new Java mod loaders. We don't need new ones every time. But they are here, they are documented. If you want to take a look at how they do things, if you want to learn, if you want to contribute to them, feel free to do so. You have different Lua libraries. These ones you can use them without a Java mod loader. The Moodles in Lua, Dane's library, startlib, the Easy Distribution API. There's plenty more that are not listed here that you can find in the wiki. You have some different external tools, so like the outfit XML converter, which helps a bit to make clothing. You have Zomdroid, which is a very interesting project because it basically brings Project Zomboid on Android for your phone. I need to quickly read the messages. No, not a JavaScript mod loader. Okay. You have one interesting project which is called PZ Map 2DZ. It's very hard to say. And it's used to generate the build 42 online map. And I think that's still what Calvi uses for the new official map that was presented by the Indie. Do I have it somewhere? I'm not sure actually. Yes. So this is the official map for Project Zomboid. currently it's being like created by Calvi and updated by Calvi, which is who is an admin for the wiki. And this was originally an unofficial project that I had documented, the build 42 map, which used this thing. I'm not going to say the name. You have some mapping tools, like I mentioned, the tile sets, the unofficial tools. So you have the community edition mapping tools and arrays mapping tools. I think most people use arrays. And he released a huge update for his tool that adds a lot of tools to it that reworks the whole UI and stuff like that. So I think you should probably use this one. There's more explanation about how this works on the mapping page. But there's basically a whole hierarchy between these tools. So one is a fork of build 41, takes parts from the official build 42, etc. Oh yeah, maybe because I'm switching, so you may miss it. If you're more interested by that, I suggest you check the mapping page on how this works. But basically, the main thing you have to remember about mapping is that you don't need the official tools. Everyone, or at least everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people are expecting the official tools to release and be like, okay, we can finally do mapping. But the reality is that these unofficial tools are literally the official tools, because the official tools, I'm going to say that a lot, are a public GitHub repository. And these are direct forks from the official tools. And they implement the official tools already. So you can already make a map, and even if they release the official tools and you want to move to those, you can do it easily, safely, without any problems. And I would even argue that you shouldn't swap to the official tools, to be honest. Maybe a controversial thing to say, but the unofficial tools are improved by the community. And I'm not sure the official tools, when they release, are going to be better than those tools. You also have Umbrella and Zscript. We're going to talk about these a bit later. An example of a modding project wiki page. So this is about the community rig. It's one of the bigger wiki page, I would say, because it goes in depth how to use the rig. But usually those pages are just a presentation of with images, if there are any. You're also going to find links. So usually download links, the GitHub repositories, and some external documentations, if they are available and made. Some simple explanations of what this is. That needs updating, interestingly. Paddle needs to update his page. And you can, if, say, I make a page about a tool you made, or you make your own page, you can freely update it and add new information to it, links to it, as long as you respect the rules of the modding project. You can add documentation on how to use your tools on the wiki directly. Usually, it's better that you do it outside. The main reason being that it's sometimes easier to manage for you, but you're free to add documentation on how to use your modding project. So in this case, that's what Paddle did with his rig. He explains some basic stuff on how to use his rig. There's also a version template that tells you how up-to-date this page is. I didn't mention it before, but when it's orange, usually it's build 42 unstable or before the stable version at least. When it's green, it's the latest version, and when it's red, it's build 41 or even older. So you shouldn't trust them. I think there's a, for example, Hydrocraft, I think. That one is very old. So this is an exception of not documenting a mod that adds content. And it was made before I even got got to working on the modding wiki. It was a page about a mod, but we agreed that we will not add mods on the wiki. The reason being that there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of mods on the wiki, or at least on Steam. So imagine if each of them had a wiki page. This will be both impossible to maintain, and like there's really not anything useful for modders to have a documentation of specific mods. Like go to the Steam page and be done with it. It's more interesting for the mapping projects because you're going to have usually external links to documentations, to the GitHub repositories, to the download links, etc. So this is a bit of an exception. And it's way too old. Anyway. Okay, thank you for passing by. You can see the rest in the video if you want later when I post it. All right. Okay, let's get started with the interesting bits. Now that I introduced you with the most important stuff, I guess I forgot to present something. So I mentioned the API docs, but I forgot to present them. If you go to the PZ API documentation page or the Java docs page, where you have links to the Java docs, you have one for the Lua docs too. Yeah. I'm going to go to the project Zomboid API docs for now. You will find an external documentation of the API. So like I mentioned a few times, I'm not going to re-explain what it is unless someone didn't understand what it is. And you're going to find different documentations. The most important one is going to be the script docs. You have some explanations on how to use this documentation, how to contribute to it, and then you have a list of the different script blocks that you can use in scripts of Project Zomboid. So this is going to list basically everything you can do. And if you go in the main important one, item, you're going to have a list of properties about this block, how you can create an item, or at least the default things. And if you have questions about specific parameters, you can simply go in the parameters list and get a full documentation of parameters. Some of these are not yet documented, but it's something I keep improving and adding to. And I will explain later how you can actually contribute to this. So if you want to update an old mod, you're going to have to update two things, probably, at least the minimum. If it's a mod that adds, so to start off, you need to update the mod structure of the mod. If you go in the mod structure page, like I mentioned before, previously, I'm going to try to not go too fast here. Previously, we used the build 41 structure, which is documented here. I'm going to show later how you can create your own mod and stuff like that. So I will re-mention that if you want. And this changed to a new structure. It's not a lot that changed, but if you want to update the mod, that's the first step in updating it. You need to update this part. The next thing you're going to need to update is that the item script, if the mod is using items, you need to change some parameters. So if you go back in the PZ API documentations, in the script docs, previously you had this, you have only type parameter. Now it's renamed to item type. That's something you need to change, but I'm going to present you a tool that's going to catch these for you. It was a function of the game. What fun? Oh, okay, I see. It depends what it is. It depends what we are talking about. If it's something that can be easily modded in, you can already do it. But you will have to learn modding to re-implement this missing thing, and maybe it's not possible to do. So if you guys have ideas of mods you want to do, you are better off asking in the Discord if it's doable, or at least get some insight on how you can do it. Because the modding system of Project Zomboid is not fully open. There's some stuff that are limited, and it's best that you ask people that already have some ideas of how to implement different things, so they can tell you how to do it. For example, there's a lot of people that may be interested in creating electricity mods. This is something Albion, that's here present with us, try to do. And she can tell you guys that this is not something you can do easily. So don't hesitate to ask for help about it. Mm. All right. Now we continue and we get to the juicy bits. It's how does the game files actually work? Because I told you that this is the most trustful source of information you can find in the game, right? So how do we actually find these game files and how do we navigate them? You have two types of folders that are going to hold your game informations and that are going to be of interest to you. The first one is going to be the game files folder. This is located in your Steam installation folder in Steam Apps Common Project Zomboid. On Linux, you have an extra folder here, but it doesn't matter. It's basically the same thing. And you have the media folder. This is going to be something you're going to see a lot, both in your mods and in the game. It's the media folder. This is where everything basically happens in a way, besides the Java. That's another topic I'm going to talk about later. But in the media folder, you're going to find different folders listed here and files that are going to interest you. You have the animsets and anims folder that's going to hold animation information, the clothing folder that's holding clothing definitions, the Lua folder, that one you can guess what it is about, the maps folder, same. The models X folder is going to hold all your models assets. The scripts folder is going to be about the scripts that I mentioned before with the scripts docs. It's going to hold every item, model, vehicle definitions. You have the sound folder that's going to hold all the assets related to sounds, basically your WAV and OGG files to play sounds. You have the texture packs. So this is not something like Minecraft. You may have heard of texture packs. That's not exactly the same thing. Texture packs are textures that are stored in, like, how do you say that? Like a compiled way, in a compact way. So you can't access the textures easily by going in this folder. You have to first unpack them with the modding tools. So that's basically the mapping tools. And you can then access each individual textures. Then you have the textures folders. This one, the textures are stored openly in it, so you can access them. And you have the UI folder. There's also some interesting files. These two last ones are semi-interesting. They hold all the depth maps of your tiles for your maps, for your tile sheets that you may implement, and you can find them back in your mod too when you create tile sheets and add tile depths to them. You have the file GUID table XML file. This is going to hold basically where you can find the clothing definitions for your files associated to an ID that you can then later use in other applications. The second, so I can show you this folder already. So as you can see, I didn't mention some folders because they are not really interesting or you can't do anything with them. For example, this one. This may be interesting, I guess. You see what you want. And you're going to find anim sets, anim X, the clothing one, it's here, the Lua, here. Got the maps. Thank you. See you. The maps, the models X, not this one. These ones, it's a bit weird, but it's basically the models, but in a text format. It's weird. I don't know much about them actually. But if you display them, they are just models information. And I don't think the game does anything with them anyway. Music, this is going to be some sounds. I didn't mention it because usually, wait, oh, it's something here. Well, I guess these music, wait, I'm actually not sure what these are. Oh, I guess you find all the official musics of the game. I don't know too much about this one. Radio, I think that's where you define the radios of the game. I think it's the same in your mod, but I don't know enough on this subject. The scripts, so you can find different subfolders to this with all the generated definitions. So you have all the items that are alarm clocks, animals, clothing, containers, etc. So if you want to go through them, find definitions of existing scripts, you find them here. And you can find some other juicy stuff, like the ragdolls. That's notably how. So I don't remember if that's how we found out there was going to be ragdolls in the game, but there were mentions of it in the Java, and you can find sometimes some juicy stuff that are unreleased. You have shaders. This is a fairly complex thing. I don't know enough, and you can't really. You can mod it, but you can only modify existing shaders. This is notably what some specific mods do on the workshop. So you can find some shader mods sometimes. This one, for example. This is a replacement of a shader. So it modifies how the water looks. Okay. And the different files that I mentioned here. The next important folder that you're going to be interested in is what we call the cache folder. This is where you're going to store all your temporary not temporary, sorry, the different configurations of your game. So this is going to be holding all your game settings in your options, and this is also going to hold your local mods, your saves, and your workshop folder, and the console.txt file, which is very important when you mod. Because when you get an error in game, you may remember this little red thing that can haunt your dreams forever. Those will appear in this file, and you can find more details about them in it. So when you get an error in your mod, first thing you do is you go in your console. The workshop folder and the mods folder, they are completely different, but they are similar in some aspects. So the mods folder, you're not going to work from here when you create mods. You can technically do it, but the problem is that when you need to upload your mod, they need to be in the workshop folder. And they don't use the same exact mod structure. I should have a page about this, actually, that showcases it. Oh, I guess not. Let me see if I can bring this quickly. On the change from 42 to 13 being used. Oh, so you're using Z-scripts and it's telling you that. This is a new feature I implemented in Z-scripts, and I think we should look at that. You can contact me outside of this presentation. I think it's probably best, because I can't tell you if it's like a bug or maybe not. But you can store them both in the versioning folder or the common folder. You choose which one you want. But contact me about this later if you want. So this is a basic idea. It's a bit like, it's not, wait, do I have something better? Yes. So this is what the whole thing looks like. Your modding structure. Your local mods are stored in your cache folder, like I mentioned, and they can either go in the workshop folder or the mods folder. And what you quickly realize is that the workshop folder has some extra folders, here, but then they meet at the same parts at the mods folder. And the reason we use the workshop folder is that you need to use that for uploading, and you can store extra folders that you don't want to upload in these structures. I will show an example quickly after of what this looks like in VS Code. For the Java, when you want to retrieve what's in the Java, you won't find it in the media folder, like I mentioned before. You're going to find it in the compiled Java. But the problem with the compiled code is that you can't read it directly. And for that, you need to decompile the game code to be able to read it. I mentioned a modding project called Zomboid Decompiler, and that's where you're going to find it. The Zomboid Decompiler is basically a single-click decompiler. If you're on Linux, it's not that easy. You need to use command lines. But if you're on Linux, that shouldn't scare you. And if it does, I don't know what you're doing on Linux. And if you want to decompile the game, you can simply download the binary on the GitHub that you're going to find here. There's going to be the there's going to be the exe for Linux and Windows in it. I made a video on the subject if you want to see more detail, more in depth on how you can do that. And to read those Java files, we suggest using IDEA. But I will talk about another IDE that you should use for modding in general. But when it comes to the Java files, you will have a way nicer time using this than Visual Studio, because Visual Studio code is not adapted to Java files very well, and it tends to be very heavy in memory for your computer to use it. You have neat tools to find directly Java classes, to find specific text, like it's an IDE, so it's going to be like Visual Studio Code. And talking about Visual Studio Code, this is going to be your main hub to create mods. So I mentioned the modding structure that you need to use, but when you work on your mod, the best is that you have a centralized window that's holding everything. And this is what this is for. The reason we use Visual Studio Code and not something else is because we have tools that were made for it, for modding. Those two tools are going to be for Lua with Emilua and Umbrella, and for scripts with ZScripts that I created. When you open your modding project, the idea is that you're going to open in your cache folder workshop and the folder dedicated to your mod as a workspace. So let me show you that in action. This is the interface of Visual Studio Code. If I reload it without extensions, you're going to be seeing this only without any extensions enabled. This is going to be the color. You can change the color of your VS Code with this menu. I think you can find it here, theme, this way. So you can change the different colors. So, sorry about that. You can customize it anything you want. When you want to open your mod as a project, so let's go in the cache folder. I'm on Linux, so it's not located exactly at the same place as you, but it's basically going to be in the Zomboid folder, workshop folder. if we go that and we create a new folder, we are going to open this as a workspace to create our mod. So open folder, we go in the Zomboid folder, workshop, and then we find the new folder I created, and we select it. And here you go. You've got this interface. So it's very similar as before, but now you have new stuff. You have here the hierarchy of your mod. So this is going to be the files that you hold and the folders. You have a search tool, so you can search for specific key terms in your entire workspace. This is also useful when you want to search in the game files. So for example, if I open the media folder, if you remember that, the media folder is very important. This is going to hold everything the game has. So like I've shown before with the anim sets, the animations, Lua, scripts, everything. And in this, you can search for key terms. So let's say I want to search for, let's be original, I get umbrella. We can search for everything. And I want to search in the scripts for the umbrella definitions. I think I kind of killed my VS Code with that. Okay, here we go. We can find the model definitions of the umbrellas. And we can find the item definitions for it too. So it's going to be a weapon. And here you go. We found the umbrella. Yes, idea is not paid. You can get for free, yes. You can get it for free. I think the community edition is plenty enough. Especially like saying for reading the game decompiles, you really don't need to pay for anything. Everything in modding can be done freely and for free. Yes, it can be rough to find the free version. If you go on the wiki page for it, you will easily find it. So I've linked the download page here, and this is going to be the free version, nothing paid, if I'm not mistaken. That should be the right page, I think. At least I remember fighting it to find it. Okay, so let's go back to opening our mod. So how do you create now a mod? I'm going to show you the basic mod structure you need to put in place to have your mod be recognized in-game. You can find more detail about this on the wiki in the mod structure page if you want a step-by-step presentation of how this works. I also have a specific video on the subject. You start off with a folder called contents, and in this we're going to create a mods folder. In this we're going to create a folder dedicated to your mod. Yes, everything. Of course, there's some stuff that if you pay will probably be easier. I'm thinking mostly of texturing. You can do it for free, but like Mars that's here, for example, it can tell you that it's way easier to do. Actually, it's not here anymore, is it? Oh, yeah. That it is easier to do weapon textures with Substance instead of GIMP. Actually, I think Spooky, that was you that introduced him to it. But overall, you can make some very good mods for free. So in this folder, we're going to have what we called a versioning folder or a command folder. Also, in the next weeks, I will probably provide a proper up-to-date template, because there's a template that is provided by the game. If I go, I think it's stored here, but this template is actually outdated. It's not for build 42, so don't use that because that's going to confuse you. The versioning folder and common folders. These are two specific folders that you need at least one of them. If you don't have one, your mod is not going to be recognized. But more specifically, your mod is not going to be recognized as long as you don't have a mod.info file. This mod.info file is going to hold basically a declaration of your mod. So you need an ID for your mod and a name. If my shift key can work. And you can add more properties with the description and stuff like that. Just let me deactivate the fucking AI. Can add the descriptions. It's all that's needed. Let me just reload the window with extensions. Oh, already activated actually. How do I reactivate the extensions? Let me do that. It should give me the prompt, I guess. Yes. I'm not going to go in depth on what properties you can add to this file, mostly because there's a lot of stuff that are just like not exactly needed to create a mod, but you can find more information about it on the wiki page mod. Oh. On the wiki page mod.info. And this is going to link to the script docs that defines this file properties. And with this, your mod should be recognized in-game. So if I launch the game, we should be able to see my mod now. I will explain right after what the versioning and the common folders are. If someone hasn't launched the game yet, close your eyes. Spoiler. So you can see all my activate mid mods, and if I search for my mod now, it's here. And I can activate it, load it, and I can test it in game now. So you can see, to get a mod in game, it's not hard at all. It's in fact very easy. So what are the common versioning folders? So say the game updates tomorrow and you realize, oh shit, my mod doesn't work in 42.21 anymore and it doesn't work the same. But people may want to stay on 42.20 because they are their save, and it was especially true with Unstable, where an update would basically break your mod. And what you have to do is So what you have to do is to create a new mod previously to not break the current saves the moment you update. Or people have to manually download your mod locally to not be affected by the updates. And now this is easier to manage because say the game updates to 42.21 and my mod doesn't work, I need to change something. I can simply create a new folder named 42.21. Yes, you can do if checks for the version and change the behavior. Usually it's actually better for some reasons that I'm going to explain after. So if you play on 42.21, this is going to load this folder and the common folder only. The previous folder 42 is not going to get loaded. But if I'm on 42.20, it's not going to load the 42.21. It's going to load the closest under itself. So in this case, it's going to be 42 42.0 because this is basically the same as 42.0. I'm going to keep it as 42 for now. And if it doesn't find a folder under this version, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to load the upper one. The common folder on the other end is to have shared assets between the versions. Because if I use 42.20, I load this folder, and if I use 42.21, I use this one. But if I have models, textures, and assets that can be heavy, the problem with them is that you will have to duplicate them without the common folder. So the way we do it is that the models and textures we usually put in the common folder. So we create a media, that's where your mod files are going to be. That's the same for the 42 here. And in this we can create the models. Is it S? I always forget. Wait. Yes, there's S. And you can put your model files in here. So I'm just going to make a fake model file. And both these versions are going to load these assets. Some people also prefer to put translations in this folder. So translations are going to be located in the Lua. Don't ask me why. In the translate folder, and then for each version here, you're going to have your translation files. But you can also put these inside the versioning folder you choose on the design of this. So this is basically it. And in your mod, you're going to create the same folders as the game uses. So for models, you have models X, Lua, etc. So what I presented before, and you're going to create the same thing in your own mod. Let's delete this version for now. And you can create your script here. Let's say I want to create an item. I do that. Okay, very nice. Going to create this module. Oh, hi, nice. An item. Can't I push it? And then in here, I define my other stuff. So let's say we have a base normal here. Okay. So I'm just going to ignore the error message for now. I'm going to come back to this later. But the problem with this, you may realize, is that my file is named item.txt. But the problem is that the majority of files that are shared with, say, the game or other mods are going to clash together. So this is going to happen also for the Lua. Let me just create the full structures for the Lua files. Say I want to create do this, I don't know, .lua. Say another mod creates a do this.lua at the same folder, you're going to clash with that mod because one is going to take over the priority of loading and it's going to overwrite this file. And say you have other files that say do that. Okay, maybe do that requires do this. It needs functions that are defined do this, but that other mod destroyed your mod. So how do you handle that? Well, the thing that you need to do when you create a mod is to have subfolders. Don't hesitate to create a folder that's called my mod in scripts and put your scripts in it. And as long as your mod has a fairly unique name, or you can even just put your name in it, you make it even more unique this way, and you are sure that this other mod is not going to clash with your mod. Or at least this makes it almost 100% guaranteed that this won't happen. And you can do that for the Lua files, you can do that for the scripts, you can do that for models. So same here, you do that here. This way, your model is not going to clash with another mod. There are some specific folders that don't have this kind of issues. And to that, if you don't know which one can or not, I suggest checking the documentations. Yes, you can also prefix your files. This is something some people do. So say, for example, I have my file in server here. I can prefix it with my name, my mod, and then I can do that thing. And this is not going to clash with other mods. But the problem is not now your file has a longest name. So preferably you use a subfolder because it basically does exactly the same thing. So let's say here I take this. If you do that, your file is named do that, do this, and not syncadity my mod, do that thing, .lua. Oh my god, please, I beg you, stop it. It's way too long. So preferably use some subfolders. But if you really don't give a shit, like, okay, name it like that if you want. Feel free to do whatever you want. But the best is that don't name your file with too generic name, or don't make them have too generic relative path to the media folder so they don't clash with other mods or the vanilla files. I will explain a bit later to how you can actually manage overwriting other mods, preferably. Okay, so now it's a bit of a mess. So we've got all our mod files. We can go in game, test our mod. If it doesn't work, we come back, edit them. That's fine. We reload the mod and we start over. I won't explain the whole process of implementing the mod while in game because this is another whole subject. Yes, that's basically that. Don't cross the streams. Jesus, I forgot they said that. Okay. Do you guys have any questions before we continue? Because this can get a bit confusing on some aspects. Yes, this is being recorded. I will post the video later. Oh yes, don't modify the base game files preferably. But did fix the translation tab. Okay. Okay, perfect. Yes. So is there anything else I need to talk about this? Yes, something I forgot to say. Okay. So I will delete these folders so you are not confused. Okay, or at least to make it simple. Okay, so when you upload your mod, you need this kind of structure. You need at least one mod.info file. So let me just add that, re-add that quickly. Make sure you have the proper casing. So you can see here I did a mistake. Oh, I can't type for shit, sorry. Okay, name. Okay. So I have my mod. When I upload my mod, everything that is in the contents folder is going to be uploaded. So what does this mean? This means that if we take a random mod, so for example this one, when you install a workshop mod, they are going to have a workshop ID and the mod ID that you put in the mod.info file, and you can create other mods this way alongside this other mod, and you can have another mod.info file. So I'm going to name it 2 this way. And these two are going to get uploaded because they are inside the mods folder that is inside the contents folder. It gets uploaded. Say we go to check the files of this mod I just installed. Okay, I need to go in the install folder for the workshop files. This is next to your game files. So if you remember, the game files are, can't see shit here. So the game files are in this folder. This is Linux, so that's why I have this extra folder. On Windows, it's just this, yeah, and then media. If we go up this folder, Steam Apps, Workshop, Content, and we go at the ID of the game that you can find on Steam in the, you can find online or stuff like that. It's very easy to find, even on the wiki, you can find it. So it's a 108600. In here, you're going to have every single mods you have installed. Maybe I have too many actually. I need to clear that shit. Let's search for the specific folder of this mod by using its workshop ID. This is an ID that is created for your mod, and that you, when you update your mod, you update this specific ID. And you can see what we find here. We find the mods folder is mod here. We're going to have this mod.info file. This mod.info file was for build 41. As you can see, this modder made a mistake because these two files are not going to get loaded. I'm not going to explain the build 41 structure because, well, 42 stable is out now, so I won't bother with that, and I don't expect any of you to stay on it, especially as the modding tools that I'm going to present are not exactly available for build 41. For Umbrella, yes, but for Z-scripts, no. So you can see what it did. If we go back to our mod, this is this folder that is going to be found here. So when you upload, it's the contents folder that gets uploaded. So what does this mean? This means that I can create folders next to this. So let's say I store some Blender assets for my models. I can store some texture files here, and they will not get uploaded with your mod. That's important because you're going to have these temporary assets. But this is extremely interesting because that means you don't need to go anywhere else to work on your mod. You don't need to go in your documents folder, create a folder for your specific mod and stuff like that. And you can just store everything in this project folder. And you can open everything together. So say you have some Python scripts to do something specific, to do some test, or some old Lua files, scripts, you can store them here temporarily. And they don't get uploaded. When you upload your mod, you're going to create a workshop.txt file. You actually don't need to do it manually. In-game, it's going to create it for you. I'm not going to show how you upload a mod. You can find some documentation on the wiki how to do that by uploading mods here. I made a video on the subject that I actually didn't add here. Wait, did I upload it? Well, I think I did. And this is going to explain everything you need to upload a mod. Okay, so why is this extremely interesting? So you can store your assets in your folder, but you can do something else too. And this something else is the next subject, the next slide. Do you open source your mod or not? This is something important to consider because say you want someone to take over your mod or to learn how to use your mod. I mean, technically, they can go in the files of your mod and they can get everything from here, right? But say you have some specific assets that you use, some Blender files that you want to share to others, you can open source your mod, or at least you can share it online. And the way we do that is with Git. I'm not going to go in depth on explaining what Git is and how you use it because it can get very complicated very quickly. But basically in Visual Studio Code, you have this menu, the source control, and you can initialize a repository and you can keep track of versions of your mod. This is useful for yourself when you develop because when you change something in your mod, you can save it this way and you can come back to what you did with these changes. And this is going to be useful because Git is used to upload on GitHub, GitLab, Codeberg, or Bitbucket, and other providers. The most common one that you probably already know is GitHub. GitLab is another important one. I don't think I've seen anyone use that, to be honest, for modding. Usually people don't bother and they go with GitHub, and I suggest you do that. Don't bother with these. I know Albion moved recently to Codeberg for the Java docs, for example. I've seen some 1 or 2 projects maybe on Bitbucket. Maybe I've seen a GitLab project actually, now that I think about it. But the mod itself, I don't know. So you can upload this to GitHub directly, and you can make it private or public. Yeah, I do use GitLab for work too. It's not that weird. It's basically the same thing overall. There are some stuff that are different. But what you need to remember is that Git is something local initially. And you can simply upload it to a website that's going to host your files. So for example, if we go in my GitHub, I'm going to have all my mods there, or at least almost all my mods. For example, if I go to, if I find it again here, The Last of Us Infected that I presented you previously, I have it here, and with all the files and the different assets. As you can see, I've got the contents and mods folder here, and I've got all the assets. So if you want to check my assets, what I did, my Blender files, my renders, you can find them here. And a lot of modders do that, but I would argue too few modders do that, in fact. Usually, most modders don't bother with anything like that. And to be fair, like it's completely fair to not bother with that. If that's something that you care about, you can do it. If you want to open source your mod, you can do that. But if you upload your mod online like this, it doesn't mean that someone can steal it. It means that you make it available for people to view your assets. You can even make it private if you just want to host your mods. And to these mods, you can add a license to it. The license is a part of open sourcing your mod or not. You can add a license to tell other modders, okay, my mod, you can take it, do anything you want with it. Or if you take it, you need to respect specific rules, or you can't take it at all, you can't re-upload it, you can't do anything, you can't sell it, you can't redistribute it, sorry. And this is done with a license file. You can find it in some of my mods, not all of them, I think. But usually by default, when you upload, your mod can't be stolen. You can DMCA someone that re-uploads your mod, and you shouldn't re-upload other mods because you either get in trouble or you ask the modder if you can do it. It's both a question of respecting yourself, because if you respect other modders, they are going to respect you and your work. And if they don't want you to repost their mod, then don't do it. There are ways to fix and update a mod without reposting it. You don't need to re-upload a mod. The majority of the time, there are 1 or 2 limitations where you can't and you have to repost the whole mod. But you can patch a mod without reposting it. So if you want to modify an existing mod, you need to patch it, and you can do basically an add-on for this mod. If we go back in my mod project here, in my mod.info file, here I can require another mod. So say this is a patch for an existing mod, I can name my ID patch, and the other mod ID is going to be sit down Sunday. I can require his mod, and I can modify almost anything I want. So if I want to modify the Lua files, I can do that. If I want to modify the scripts, it can be a bit tricky. It depends what scripts we are talking about. For recipes, there's some stuff you can modify easily, and for items, you can usually modify completely freely their items. You can do some complete file overwrites, but you can also do some direct patching without overwriting the original files. But you can see that this already is a lot of stuff. If I'm not mistaken, you can also overwrite textures and models, but I'm not too sure of that. It might also depend on the load order, the way you load your mods in game. So if one loads before the other, you may not be able to patch it. So in general, don't overwrite files. Same for the vanilla files. Don't overwrite anything. For scripts, you can't do that anymore. I mean, you can, but if you do that, you need to overwrite basically 1,000 item definitions usually. So that's not a solution. But there are solutions that exist that are documented on the scripts page of the wiki for scripts here. If you go in for craft recipe, I think I have a specific section on modifying existing script recipes. There are a lot of limitations with recipes. Hopefully, Zone Distone fixes that and implements proper ways to modify existing recipes. So this may be a case where you need to overwrite a file, but re-uploading a singular file of a mod in your own mod is usually fine, as long as you don't repost the whole mod. If you're not sure, ask the modder if you can re-upload a singular file of his mod. Usually people are fine with it, but who knows? When you create your scripts, that means that, and your Lua files, it means that the more you split your code in different files, the easier it's going to be. So say I create my file in shared with my mod. So as you can see, I forgot to add in the subfolder. Yes, of course. What do you do? My mod here. I'm going to name it main. And let's say I write 1,000 lines here of code. Maybe you can split that in other smaller files. So if someone needs to change something or overwrite something, you can do it easily. You can do it easily with some source code or scripts. Download the model. No idea how it was made. What tools? Think we're writing. No. Yes, I guess that's true. Yeah, it's a bit of a niche case because it's rarely the case. We do it for the horse mod. There's some stuff that we generate with files, but usually you don't need to do it for us. I will assume that if someone uses a script to generate specific files, they will usually make it easy to modify. One thing you can do is that when you create a Lua file, say I create a utilitary, if I can type, wait, sorry. Okay, here you go. I can create a module where I will store all my functions, and I can return this module at the end of the file, and this allows anyone to modify this existing the functions that I had in this table, because when I load it in my main file, I will load my utilitary module by requiring this other mod this way. If I can type again. So you can require this mod and this module, and you can do anything you want. If he has a function to call, you can call it, and that's perfect. And that means that if a mod wants to modify this file content, they can do a different file in their own mod, they can get this module and modify functions, variables, and stuff like that. So preferably when you do Lua mods, do that. Make it open for anyone. And for scripts, preferably you split different script types in different files. So for example, my items are going to be here, my recipes are going to be here, maybe my model is going to be, okay, what the fuck am I doing? Models is going to be in another file. And that means if anyone wants to overwrite a specific script definition, they can just overwrite this specific file without overwriting every single file or every single script definitions. This makes it best for them, best for you, and can cause less issues overall. All right, that's basically it for this part. I'm going to present the tools you can use in the workspace that I forgot to present. If you go in this tab, the extensions tab, you can find different extensions for VS Code that you can fuck with, that you can use. You can, for example, find Emilio here. So here I have it installed but disabled. I can re-enable it for this workspace. And when I go in my Lua files, here, you can see that this is highlighting it. So if I do Control click, I go to this file automatically because it knows basically what you defined. Emilio is going to be an important one, but the Lua environment of Project Zomboid is a bit special. So what you need to use is that you need to give a library to this Lua file. This is called Umbrella. You can find the wiki page here. And Umbrella is not an extension. So if you search Umbrella here, you're not going to find the umbrella for Zomboid. You're going to see a fucking extension that's literally a bait for your mod. That's literally a bait for Project Zomboid because you have this one, Umbrella Lua API. So if you remember, I called the Lua API. So it's named exactly perfectly to think this is it, but it's absolutely not that. This has nothing to do with Project Zomboid. I think this is a Dota extension or something like that, Dota 2. There's also this one. This is not. This is not it either. I think this is probably a fork of this one. I guess it's Deadlock. Yeah, probably that. And you're not going to install Umbrella this way. You have some explanation on how to activate and install Lua, Umbrella, sorry, for Emilio. It's good commit, yeah, definitely. You need to install it locally in your computer, and then you need to reference the folder to Emilio, to Umbrella locally with a configuration file for Emilio. This configuration file is called .merc.json, and you create it at the root of your project here. You copy this, boom, and you give the path to your Lua files. So this is going to be here. This is some globe patterns. You can look more about it if you want, but this should work out of the box. What will not work is this. You need to change the path to Umbrella. To get Umbrella, you can download it in, probably need to rename that to stable now. Here, unstable release. You download the source code. Here. You extract here, Umbrella, and you've got Umbrella unstable. And you need to link to this library folder, basically. So you copy this, preferably don't store it in downloads in case you delete stuff that are in downloads. And you put it here. When it is a backslash with Windows, you need to do a double backslash due to how JSON works. And here, and this is going to give informations about the game API. So now if I do events, you can see it finds something that is from the game. So these are events. You can add functions for them. It gives you information about the different types of the parameters of the API. You can also, if you get, yes, you can clone the repository too. I did not explain that, but you can do it, and it should be explained in this page. You can either download the last source code, so that's what we did. In the releases here, we downloaded the source code, but if you want, you can also clone it. I linked a useful page on how to do that, but this is basically linked to Git that I explained a bit before, and I'm not going to go in depth on how to use Git, but you can do that easily. All right. You have other settings that you can give. These you probably don't need to touch. Maybe the diagnostics, I think there's a few stupid diagnostics from Emilia that we should not care about, that we don't care about, at least in the Project Zomboid API. This one was deactivated because of the way the game works. So maybe some of you know the Roblox modding scene where it uses Lua 2. And there's something typical that you can find, and I'm going to share a small secret, not so much a secret, but in Lua, there's something you can do that is called pickle. You can do it in Project Zomboid, but pickle is used to catch an error. So say you pass the wrong arguments to a function or something like that, you can use pickle to catch it. But the reality is that you never use pickle in Project Zomboid, because when you trigger an error, and it's Java side, I think, you are still going to get the red marking on your screen when it throws the error. So pickle doesn't work. And the small secret is that when you want to know if a mod is AI generated or not, they will usually use pickle everywhere. So if you want to check if a mod is AI generated, you can just go open as a workspace the mod in question and search pickle. If you find it, well, that's AI generated. That should be always true, unless the guy comes from Roblox where they use that. But generally speaking, pickle everywhere equal AI. That's not always true, because now AI gets better at it and the users give better indications to the AI, so it doesn't actually catch it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So installing Umbrella, and the second extension that's interesting to use is going to be Z-scripts. There are two Z-scripts extensions available. As you can see, there is this one, but this one is outdated. Actually, it was the old Z-scripts. You can see it. It was for build. Okay, for build 417824. That's old, and it doesn't work the same at all as mine that I created. I'll never use double slash emojis pickled. Yeah, I guess that's specific. Oh yeah, yeah, right. What is a double slash actually? What are you referring to? So emojis in the descriptions, of course. M dash. What is that? Aha. So this one that you sent, Yapper Cupper. Sorry for your name if I said that one. This one that he sent. This is the original extension that I went from. So Z-script here is not a fork of this one. It has nothing to do with this one, but it's actually a fork of this one. This is the original Z-script. Nowadays, they are absolutely not the same thing in terms of code. Like there may be one or two things that are left of this extension in Z-script, but I completely rewrote the whole thing myself. But it was my inspiration, because what it did is that it gave diagnostics for your scripts it gave some syntax highlights. I don't know if it has images actually. And it did things well, but not enough. And yes, it's way, way, way worse. Like, it gives diagnostics only for modules, items, fixing, recipe, craft recipe. The recipe block is not available anymore. It was build 41. This, I think it's not even a thing fixing anymore. I think it's not a thing anymore, yeah, in build 42. And there's a lot of things it doesn't do, but it was a good base for me to go from to learn how to do it. And so now I've made ZScript. And ZScript is very cool. Of course, I'm going to say it's cool. It's my extension, goddammit. Let's create our subfolder for mod. Let's add an item.txt file. And when I want to create a script, I can set the language to ZScripts. Usually it does it automatically. If it doesn't, you can click here and change to ZScript. And it's going to give auto completion for different script blocks. So here you're going to have items. So my item script needs to have an ID. So it's going to be my item. I need to give a proper value for item type. If you put your cursor on the thing, it's going to tell you that this is the item type parameter of the item block, which is a children of module, which is a children of a root script. The root script is basically the whole document, because there are some specific files that don't use the same type of blocks. You have an easy link to the script docs that I presented a bit earlier. So if you want to read about it in depth, see which parameters are available, you can do that. For the values, it gives you an error. So as you can see, it tells you that you're using the wrong values and you need to use one of these. In my case, I'm going to make it a base normal, which is a default item in a way. Something I implemented yesterday actually was your item needs a translation. So it's going to tell you when you miss a translation, and it needs to be an item name.json. If it tells you that, you need to search in the documentation for translation here, translation files, and you're going to search for the proper file here. So it's going to be item name here. And you can see some properties of this file. The translations, you can find more information on the translation page on the wiki here. Basically, it explains how the whole system works. And of course, this is linked at the top of this file. If you're looking to it, oh, never mind. It should be linked here. Oh, never mind. Hey, something to fix. Let's go. So if I create my translation now, it needs to be in a specific folder in your projects. Here. Oh, fuck. If you go at the error, it's going to tell you that the value, the translation key base.myitem needs to be in it. Here. Okay. If I go back to my file, yes, of course it's broken. You may need to reload sometimes if it doesn't work. Don't tell me there's a bug with it and I'm presenting it. That will be a bit sad. You can see it's going to, oh yeah, something you need to set up for ZScripts too. There are options that link, well, you see, I already need to fix something for my mod. Let's go. I will be fixing that in the future. I was looking at that right after. You need to set up some settings for ZScript. You can go in here, settings. This is going to open a UI where you can set up different things for VS Code. If you go in extensions, ZScripts, you have different settings one setting that is important is going to be the search directories. So this is going to be the library folder. Till I closed whole. Oh, interesting. Well, I need to fix some stuff probably with the caching. Like I said, this is something I implemented yesterday, so this is going to be broken. There's a chat. Watch it. Oh. Yes, there's a chat. For people that didn't realize it, I'm reading the questions of people in the chat. Yeah, I guess like it worked yesterday, so but that's not really the subject. Let's ignore the error is here for now, please, because this is something I implemented yesterday. So you remember the folder with the media folder for all game files? You need to link this inside this thing here. So in my case, it's already linked, but you need to add a new item with the path to this folder. And what this is going to be doing is that this is going to provide information about the game files. So say, for example, I defined a craft recipe. Craft recipe here. I need an ID, my recipe. I need a translation too. That's why it's screaming at me right now. I need some mandatory parameters. And I need to, okay, let's say reference an item. I want to consume base, I don't know, nails. This. And you need to make sure that for proper diagnostics, you define the game folder. So it's going to search for base.nail in the game folder or your other libraries. So you can add other mods as a library. If I go back in the settings here, I can add another mod as a library. If my mod depends on it, on its items it created. So you can add proper diagnostics for that. And yeah, that's about it. That's Zscripts and Umbrella presented. Are there any questions about it or not? Before we move on to the final part, it should be a short one. Right. Sorry, I'm absolutely dying from the heat. Okay. Premier Media is different on the wiki from the Umbrella GitHub. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know Albion provided a translation file here. Is it very different? Wait, does she provide one? Oh, this one? Oh, yeah. Yes, this is different. The one I provide on the wiki is way more detailed as the most necessary things. So preferably use this one. It's the most up to date. Okay. Your message got removed. Oh. Okay, so the difference between the Z script with an S and the normal one is that they are absolutely not the same extensions. So this one was made by Job that you sometimes see around there. And I'll answer Demon's question after I missed it. So this one, it uses a different code and different parsing methods to diagnostic your scripts. It's not the same at all as this one. So it's not really personalized. It's just that this one is outdated too. It's very outdated, like the other one I'm basing off myself. And this one is so the advantage of Zscript is that I'm going to present that after, but I created a Project Zomboid dataset project where I documented every script's information. So I can show that quickly. But the idea is that project zomboid scripts data, and I have data blocks, and for every blocks I've got information, properties, descriptions, typings. So for example, if we go in item, what is it here, in item, you're going to have the description, a short description, some properties, which parents it can have, and stuff like that. This is something you can contribute to. I'm going to present it a bit after. But the advantage is that this doesn't use that, and the older extension that I forked from doesn't use that either. None of them use that. There were no database for scripts, no actual API documentation for them. All of them, like the few documentation you had, were on the wiki sometimes, or you had to look for them, or you had to copy an existing script item, which you should do, to be honest, because you will have the proper parameters, but if you want to understand how a parameter works and affects your item, your model, and other things, you go to the scripts docs to get proper information, or at least the most up-to-date and the only information you will find about scripts. Basically, there was zero documentation for scripts before I got to it. You had to ask around about it or figure it out yourself, and people did mistakes constantly. So Demon's questions, portion of a mod that imports something blend of any value or anything to create a script. Scripting. I'm not sure I understood your question, Demon Wizard. Do you mean to import a model, you need to do that? Or you need a script, or? Oh yeah, also, when you go to install Lua, there are two versions of Lua. This one by Subnico and Thanks ZX Emilia. Preferably use Emilia, it's the most up-to-date, and Umbrella supports Emilia mostly. Both should be usable together, but there are some features missing in this Lua. And this extension we basically call Lua LS, or Lua Language Server. If you find out what you meant by that, don't hesitate to ask around the Discord. All right, I'm fairly active at least, or don't hesitate to ping me. Who is Jeremy? There's a Jeremy guy that added me. Oh, okay, just thanking me. New model will be into creating additional such new game items. Bit about loot tables. Oh yeah. Okay, so when you create your item, or after you created your item, you want to see it spawn in game. So I can show that quickly. Let me clear that quickly. This is done with procedural distributions. There's a whole wiki page on it. And you have some APIs that help with that. The most common one I would say is Easy Distribution API, and then you have Core OS, Core OS, a bit hard to say, that provides tools to make it easier. But when you want to make your items spawn in game, you need to create this kind of stuff. This is a bit disgusting because this is the vanilla the vanilla procedural distribution, and it's a bit annoying to use. Usually what you will see in mods that you should not do is this, and you should not do it because you're repeating some useless code and you can do it way better. So I've shown an example here, but the problem with this is that you basically need to add your item to a list, add the chance. it's not a chance between 0 and 100. It's a weight. It's more of a weight, but it's not exactly that too. If you want to learn more about that, I suggest you read that in detail after. And then you add your distributions to the vanilla distributions, basically. And your item can spawn in-game. There's a tool that's called, let me remember what it's called. Shit. Oh, it's loot Z. Yes, right. It's loot Z that you can use to make it a bit easier for you to create your distributions. It allows you to easily verify if your item is going to spawn in a specific container, basically. And you see that page is old, but the tool didn't change since then, so this page is actually still up to date. Let me just update that quickly. So you can see to update a page, it's really easy to do. Takes a few clicks, but it requires me to go through all of them all at once. So, yeah. If you've got more questions on procedural distributions, you can ask them if you want, but I suggest you read this first. Are there any other questions? I don't know if it's hot for you guys where you live, but it's 35 degrees Celsius for me, so that's a bit rough. Oh yeah, you're lucky. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. It's going down a bit. Plus, with all the fires we had in France, that's probably not going to help a lot. For the cases where such would do random item type item. Yes, that's some. So what Purple Nebula is mentioning here is you add a dummy item. So the problem with the way distributions work is that when the more item you add to a specific distribution, the more items are going to spawn in this container in general. And to be honest, this is kind of like, let's say, normal to do that, because say you have a specific mod that adds 1,000,000 books. Well, if you want to find the vanilla books, good luck, because then that mod would have bloated the whole thing with loot. And if we kept the number of items stable, it will basically reduce the chances you find the vanilla items in general. So it's kind of like, I guess, not shocking that the system works this way. But the problem is that this is a small simulations I had done by simply generating a random amount of items. I could probably improve that thing there, to be honest. And it's that when you increase the number of rolls you do for a container, for example, and when you increase the number of items, you have a different. You increase the mean amount of spawned items in the container. And the solution is to create a dummy item. This is what is presented here. The dummy item, basically, you're going to have a generic invisible item that the players should never see. And you detect when it spawns and you replace it with another item. And what this means is that you can have 5 items associated to a single item. So, for example, if you've played True Music before, you know that you're going to find so many music discs in the containers. And I think they use a same system where they don't have dummy items and they just spawn items, but I think I heard something about them using W items. That might be Albion when she made her mod. And the idea is that instead of bloating the containers with millions of items that your mod adds, you're only going to bloat it with a few items. Pre-modding build for one, but yes, there were basically no documentation in 41. An example of a script for a custom zombie. I'm going to be honest, it's preferable that we talk about that outside of this because it's something fairly complex to do. And I think what you want to do, at least from your question, is to use an existing model and get it on zombies in game. And it's a whole thing. Yeah, it's a whole different bag of worms. Yeah. So I think the best is like come ask in the modding Discord after, okay? Or now you can do that and we can discuss it because it's really not easy to do. I mean, it depends. Like, it depends. For The Last of Us Infected, it was a very hard process because I needed like to use the existing zombies as a base for custom zombies. While if you want to spawn a singular zombie that is special and stuff like that, it's easier to do. Existing models with code. Thinking. Sorry. So when it comes to modifying existing model scripts, I think you can't do it. I think it doesn't support soft overrides. That's something I didn't talk about, but that's a process of overriding an item, but only specific properties. We call that soft overrides. You can do it from Lua in some cases for items, for example, but you can also do it from scripts, and we call that soft overrides. And the problem is that I think models that doesn't work. I think I had someone try that, or I think I had tried that actually. And a solution you can do is that since the item uses a model definition and references it, item this way, you can actually just modify the model reference in this item to another different model you created. And you're not modifying the original model, you're just modifying what model the item is using. That was the way I did it, I think. You can change some stuff while in game. Mid game, I mean. Not really the scope of the presentation, I think, so I won't talk about that. But you can search for it by looking at terminal. If I can type shit. You can search for hot reloading. This is a process that is used to reload them. It's not a simple 10-line function to make a bot that grows. Oh, you mean modifying the? Oh, you mean increasing the model when you kill? Oh, that's another thing in itself. I mean, I I think it's doable. It might be doable, but probably too specific for the presentation here. I've been building time. Yes, making custom zombies was a mistake from my end, to be honest. Specific decompiled code. I can explain how you can find a specific decompiled code. If you want, I'm going to talk about it after presenting the last point. So we can, like, I guess, wrap up everything I wanted to talk about, and I can talk. I can show it after. Then we are to the. Yes, you can change the scale of models. So we go in the API docs. model here, and you search for the parameter scale here. You can change the scale of a model. So maybe look into using that, but you would need to modify the model while in game. I think it's definitely doable, but I'm not too sure either. I think you can do that, yeah. The problem is that it will probably scale the models of every players. So maybe don't do that. I don't know. Depends what you want to do. All right. So if there are no other questions, I'll move on to the next point. Oh, why am I here? Okay. So that's where we were. How can you help to the documentation? Because I've shown you how it all works, so now I expect you to be experts, of course. But seriously, if you want to document something on the wiki, don't hesitate. The number one rule on the wiki is don't hesitate to make mistakes. Because if you make mistakes, my job is to be here to, okay, hey, what you did the presentation, you need to change how you present the page, there's specific templates you need to use, and that's fine. Make mistakes, make pages. The best thing is that if you're not sure, contact me if you want to document something, because maybe there's already a page about something you want to document. You know, like creating custom zombies. Hey, there's actually some documentations about it in here. You can find some information in this page for specific stuff you can do for zombies. This may interest you. Wait, who was talking about? Oh yeah, custom zombies. I don't remember your name, sorry. But the person that asked about custom zombies, you can find some stuff in this page, for example. This is about, about the class isozombie, which defines zombies. But to come back to the subject, you can go to the help contents page here, and you can find information on how the wiki works. Oh, fucking, fucking hell. Okay. So you've got some stuff about formatting, links, editing pages. If you want to get started, go take a look at this. Also, don't hesitate to ask in the official Discord. In this, don't hesitate to ask here. But the best, if it's related to modding, come ask me directly, okay? Because I will be probably the best one to point you in the right direction to start off at least. So this is about contributing to the wiki, but you can also contribute to the different data resources. Yes, there are some stuff about animals you can also find on the wiki. It's not it's not easy to find. That's one of the problem I have right now, is that there's a lot of simple pages that are not like I guess shared anywhere, or they are a bit lost. So that's why when you go in the wiki, don't hesitate to go in the category modding and just look at everything that is available. For example, we have the app ID that I mentioned previously. The app ID of the game, it explains what it is, how to find it. There's also the workshop ID, there's other stuff. There's WordZ, that's a random tool as in Distone made back then. I think it's like barely not usable today. I think it was for radios or medias. I don't remember exactly. But you can see there's a lot of things that even myself I forget about, to be honest. You have a list of item tags that are available. That's not from me, actually. That's not me that made it. That's the official, I guess, over on Mids. They created that for their own page. They store it in the modding, which makes sense. I guess that thing too. I don't fucking know what it is. Someone needs to probably work on that, or it's probably not usable as a tool anyway. Or no one uses it, I guess. But you can find some information that are not in the wiki. Hello, give me back. Okay, there you go. Yes, ask your question. That name rings a bell. Totally innocent. I think I've seen that guy. Right? No, I think I've talked to him. No? But there are no documentation on it, on how zombies spawn and stuff like that. There are some videos that explain the zombie spawning system. Let me find the video quickly for you if you want. Ah, fucking hell. Zombie spawn. There's a guy that did a very good video about it. Oh, fucking hell. The sound. Up. So there's going to be this video by Retanaru on the zombie migration system. And there's going to be this guy about the spawn system. But these are for build 41. Nowadays, build 42 uses a system that is what is called. I need to remember the name. It's like it's basically an image of the concentration of zombies around the map, and you can like mappers need to. No, it's not a noise map actually. Yes, it's a sort of heat map of the zombie spawns. As for what they spawn with, their equipment, that's not documented at all. And even myself, I'm not sure, to be honest, because that's not something I ever touched. I know it's a sort of distribution. It's basically like distributions. You can define what equipment spawns with what clothing and stuff like that, I think. But I never touched it myself, to be honest. It's going to be linked to the outfits that I know of. It's going to be a specific file called yes, clothing.xml. This file has a documentation in here, clothing.xml, for the different parameters. And this is used to define an outfit, and you can then give that to zombies. You don't give specific clothing pieces to zombies, you give an outfit. And these outfits like can have specific items, stuff like that. Oh, there's actually a mistake here. Interesting. But yeah, I didn't close this. Well, that's something for me to fix. Yes, the zombie spawning are Java-sided, yes. All right. And to conclude, you can contribute to the different datasets I presented. So there's one I presented you, the project Zomboid datasets. I'll answer that question after finishing presenting this. So there are specific datasets that you can also contribute to. So I mentioned one, the script data. That you can find here in this GitHub page. This is linked here if you need more information. If you need to find it, I mean. And these are the documentations for the scripts of the game. If you find something in the Project Zomboid API docs that is incorrect, you want to fix it, or you want to document a specific parameter, like you found something interesting about a specific parameter in the game files, you can come and contribute to this GitHub repository. And sometimes it's just as easy as going in here, in the blocks, say it's an item parameter. You find the item block here. You find where the parameter is defined, and you can choose to edit it with this small button. And then you can do a pull request to the repository to propose a change to the documentation that we can include. There are also other sources of documentations here. You've got the translation data, the XML data, so that's going to be related to clothing items mostly. And then you have the Java and Lua parsers. These are mostly things you can do. I would suggest mostly requesting something from me. Maybe I can implement it, but these are to retrieve specific data from the Java and Lua files, and they don't really contain any data in themselves. When it comes to the actual data of the Java and the Lua, say you go in the Java docs here. So it's just white mode. Say you found something in isozombie, a parameter you want to document, or you want to add documentation to a specific function, you can do that in the Rosetta project here. So the Rosetta project provides documentation for the Java and the Lua, which is then added to Umbrella. Basically, they are used to generate the Umbrella documentation, and then you can use that in ME-Lua or Lua-LS. And you have documentation for the Lua in the stub data and the Rosetta sources for the Java documentations, which are used to generate the Umbrella data, etc., etc. So it's basically the same thing. It's a GitHub repository. You can go in it and contribute to it if you want to document specific Java functions. As you can see, there are basically zero documentation for almost everything, besides a few things like description copied from class. Okay, but that's not the case. You see, like the descriptions of functions are terrible. The good thing, however, is that the Java is usually easy to understand in a way that the naming of the methods of the variables and stuff like that, they usually make sense. Like add visual bandage, you're going to add a bandage on the zombie visually. There are some stuff that can be obscure, but you can get the speed of eating of the zombie, the target that is being eaten, so that's going to be the dead body. If it's a crawler, stuff like that. Usually it makes sense, and if you need more information, remember the rule, the game files are the best documentation you can have. So you go open your best idea to go find specific information about specific functions. So if you go in the class isozombies, you can find all the different informations that you decompiled from the game files. And say, for example, I need to find what this does. Here, you go. You got the definition here. And that's about it. This concludes the slides, at least. Now, to answer your question, Yapper Kapper, are there any aspects of Zomboid modding that AI coding tools are good at or bad at? That's an excellent question that I need to think a bit about. I think, like in general, this applies to programming. Like, say you want to do repetitive task, you can ask AI to do it. If you don't know how to do a specific algorithm, you can ask AI, how would you do that? The idea is that the more you depend on the AI, the less you're going to understand what you do, and the less you're going to understand what AI actually does in your mod. Say you want to ask AI, okay, implement this specific algorithm of this tree of action of an NPC, for example. Well, you could ask AI to do that, sure. But there's two risks. One, it's going to output something that can't be expanded on. Because AI is not good at planning out stuff. And when you plan out stuff yourself with experience and stuff like that, your project is going to be well organized and it's not going to be a complete mess. So this at least fixes that. And the second thing is that, okay, you asked AI to implement that, but now are you able to read it and understand what it did? And you may not care about it, to be honest. Like, I find it completely fair to just want a specific mod that does a specific thing. But when you go into a project that is to add NPCs in the game, some things the devs are maybe not even working on right now, like because of how complex it is. Like, you can't just go in and ask AI to do it for you, because this is too big, too it requires too much planning and too much knowledge from you to do that. Hey Jim, got you. Exactly. You need to watch over its shoulder, and if you don't have the ability to watch over the shoulder of your intern, then what the fuck are you? Because you can ask it to generate a mod, fine. Like I said, I understand you want to just do a specific mod, add a specific thing to the game, and that I found that completely fair. But watch out, if you want to get into modding, don't get into AI tools, or at least understand that what AI gives you is not the truth, or is probably not the truth. You can't trust it. Like, remember the pyramid I gave at the start? If I manage to exit this fucking... Let me out! Okay. Remember this? This is the highest level of trust you can get, the game files. The least level of trust are LLMs. You can trust LLMs sometimes, but watch out. I'm not an AI hater, like people may think or what. This is a tool I use a lot myself. I don't use it for modding. I've used it maybe for one or two things here and there, but usually I already know how it works, so I don't. I guess like I don't rely too much on it, and if I do, I already know what I want. For example, these documentations. I wrote all the data myself. I didn't ask AI to do it because I wanted to know, okay, what properties are available for scripts? What do I need to document? What do I need to keep? And I did it only by hand, the data sets. But at first, these small documentation things, I didn't write myself because it's a Python code that takes the data I did and then creates the pages. But I knew that the contract I took when I did that is that what the AI did, I don't have any control on. Because I chose to not have any control on, I just wanted a concept of documentation. Okay, say I make a documentation of the procedural distribution. What do they need to look like? So I just generated with AI the Python script that generated this page. And now today, I have a technical debt of I don't know what the script does, or I can read it fairly well because I know Python really good, but I still need to go through, okay, how did it do that? Why is it bad? What do I need to do to make it nice? And now I'm rewriting these nicely to be normalized. So I rewrote the generator for the script dots myself and the XML myself, and I used the same class to generate these. So I have normalized documentation style everywhere, which I didn't have before. And that's something I chose to have. And that's fine, because you want something fast, you wanted it now, you did it. But when you do that, you need to accept that the contract you take with yourself, that this code you have zero control on, or at least you need to come and read it later. And it's the same thing with like, for example, when I wanted to get this documentation done, I knew what I wanted, and this is generated with Sphinx docs, and you have a whole process you can define to get these documentations done. I had done it and played with it with the ORS tools, so I could have done it from scratch myself. And I said, okay, AI, I have this data set. I want exactly this thing. I asked it to generate a base for me to work on, and now I have this documentation where I basically rewrote entire parts myself to have control on it. And I can't say I don't use AI, but take care when you do that. You need to understand what's the cost of using AI. It's a cost of yourself, of what you generate, of what you are going to use in your mod. And similarly, like I haven't said what I work on at the start. I wanted to do it, but I'm doing a PhD. I'm basically a PhD student in fluid mechanics, and I do a lot of treatments. I do a lot of coding, Python, and stuff like that. And AI is a tool I use constantly because we can't lie to ourselves that we can gain time with AI. But you need to take care when you use it because you need to understand what it's going to cost you. And that's about it, about the AI. And just say you want to use AI in your mod. Don't be surprised if no one downloads it when your mod looks like an AI generated preview. I'm actually proud of the workshop right now. There's not a single one. There's not actually a single one that's AI generated. Wait, can't I click this shit? What's going on? Let me click it. There's actually not many AI generated mods nowadays. Interesting. Surprising. Oh yeah, that one. Like, at least if you use the AI, don't make it obvious, you know? I mean, the movie's embedded in the mod, that's kind of a meme. Like, I'm all for it. The AI generated mods, a bit less. You may have seen the train mod thing recently. It might still be here, actually. Is it? Did he delete his mod? That's interesting. He may have deleted his mod, I don't know. But people like flagged it as AI because of the model. Yes, that's it. People flagged it as AI because of the model. A guy went and looked at the model and said, "This model is absolutely crap. It must be AI." But the truth is that the model was actually was actually not AI generated, but the rest of the mod is completely AI generated. Like when you read the description and you see this is AI. There's not many emotes used in here, but usually in VR, like yeah, and the problem was that he used a model that exists and people and he decimated it, sorry, to reduce the amount of polygons it has. And people thought it was AI because of the model and not even of the content. Like we are at a case where people make mods with AI and people can't even tell what's actually AI in the mod. Yeah. And you may have seen recently to a post on Reddit, at least as the one that are active in the modding community here. I've seen it of a guy that made a tool to seemingly detect when when a mod is AI generated, and I just saw it got deleted. And like the problem with that is that it generated the tool to find out if the mod was AI generated. Like, what kind of world is that? Yeah, everyone like basically. Yes. Yeah. No, he deleted his Reddit post. It seems. I didn't know that actually. Yeah, you can completely be fine with AI generated mods too. Like that's fair, because a train mod, hey, that's cool. Hey, to be honest, I saw it and was like, hey, that's really fucking cool. Like the model, I don't know. I didn't look too much into it. You know, I get excited when there's something cool that gets out. But when I realize it's AI, I will almost instantly not trust the mod because I know it's AI generated and I can't trust what was generated. So I'm not going to trust the mod to be good or anything. So while I love the idea of a train, I don't love the idea of it having been AI generated, because when is this going to break? When is this going to lag my game? When is this going to be incompatible with every single mod out there? Because AI doesn't know how to properly mod. Yes, exactly. It's completely fine to use AI even for yourself. You may just not care to get a good mod. Yes, it was fuck. The guy that made common sense. Braven. It was Braven that was working on we're at a point where his fucking mod is disappeared from the workshop under all the shit. We can't even find his mod anymore. Dude, there's so many of them. I never actually tried to search. That's a good question, Timothy. So that's a really good question. And the thing is that when you generate a mod with an AI, with an agent, you will tell him, okay, I got this error at this time. I got this error at this time in my mod. You give him the error, and if you don't review the mod, the problem is that the AI is going to remove the error. So, like, the problem when it does that is that it's going to hide the problem, the mistake that it did sometimes. So, hey, no errors, no problems. That's perfect, you know? But the reality is that under the hood, you just actually hide a bomb in plain sight of either your mod actually doesn't fucking work. Like, the amount of cases of people that check for functions, I mean, their AI checks for a function because the user told him he had an error of this function not existing. So the AI checks if the function exists, and the function doesn't exist. So it doesn't actually run the mod. And you're like, okay, say it's fully tested, you know, everything runs and stuff like that. Are you sure that your mod is well generated? Because sure, like maybe you didn't find any problems. But the number one rule when you do some devs on and modding is that the moment you release that shit, people are going to find some of the most insane stuff. And I can give you an example with the horse mod we made. We did an early testing phase with streamers. We gave them an early copy of the mod, and that gave us like publicity for the mod, stuff like that. We were really proud of it in general, and that gave us a controlled testing environment. And what we realized is that there were some features that we had that had some of the most obscure problems in the game, where we corrupted the world of the world of your save just by doing a specific like methods that worked. Like the feature, it worked, but under the hood it turns out that it's going in specific conditions going to crash or corrupt your world. But the problem is that if we get the whole community to test it instead of testers, how do we know that this is not a problem with another mod of this guy and not with our mod? And you can't know that because there's some edge cases, some weird edge cases in your mod that you can test it as much as you want. You will always have that single random ass user that finds a random case where your mod just fucking breaks for no reason. Exactly. You understand what happens in your code, and so you can review it better and you can better catch mistakes or potential mistakes. I don't want to see an AI make a networked mod because I can already see the AI spamming comments to send to the clients to sync specific things, and that's going to lag the fucking server. Like, I can already see that happening. Yeah, you see, even like the horse mod, we fully made it humanly. At least, like, this aspect of the mod, we had some aspects that were AI generated for speed and stuff like that, but overall the mod was made by us, and this part was made by us, so we knew about it, we knew how it worked, and it turned out to be like a blatant word corruption mistake. What modding categories are you most excited? um, okay, so I would say it will be about action groups. So what are those? When you create an animation in the game, let me just open the game files to show you what I mean. And that's something that will be useful for us in the horse mod, for example. So when you create an animation, you need the animation file that is going to be FBX or GLB or .x if you're a masochist, stored here in the animx folder. So that's going to be the animation file itself. And then you have the anim set folder. And this is going to be holding all the logic behind your animations triggering. And one problem we have with anim sets, and that every animal models have, is that you can't create a custom one. So as you can see in this folder, we have every single animals that are available, and you have the player and other specific things. But you have like rabbit, pig, lamb. So every animals have their own anim set folder. And what these are they are action groups. Action groups are what defines what what folders can exist in the anim set folder basically, and what specific actions exist. And you have this kind of stuff. How do things trigger? How do they behave with other specific actions? Because you can see here it's specific states of animations, and there are more that you can find in the anim sets here. So I've alerted, idle, it's walking, running, pathfinding, stuff like that. Okay, so the problem is that we can't create our own one. So we have to hijack an existing one to create or to add our animal in game. So what we have to do is implement our animation in the buck action group. And the problem with that is that we need to do some special tricks to not override existing animations of this existing animal that we definitely shouldn't fuck with. So for example, there's a mod that's called the wolf mod. Is there actually? Where is it? Oh yeah, it's impossible to find, right? Because fucking shitty. So you have some specific animal mods that existed. I don't fucking remember how you can find them. They are badly, like, horrible to find. Anyway, and the thing is that what they did is that they replaced these existing animations. So that means, okay, you want a wolf, but fuck it, you don't get this animal. Well, that sounds a bit a bit rough, okay? And we realized we didn't have to do that at all, and we just have to give a specific animation variable to the horses. But the problem with that is it's not perfect. The player will never see the problems because we managed to basically have every necessary animations work in the existing buck folder. But for example, when you're in a specific debug menu where you show your animal, you can't have it to work because it's not the right animal, and we can't give it the specific property when it's in this UI for debugging to use the right animations, so it just bugs in the mid-ball. And another things that I'm excited with for this is, I think it's going to be here. Where is it? You may have, if you read the blogs, you may have heard about Grapple Z. So it's a specific animation state that you can use to link two entities with animations together. And this is going to be very interesting for the horse mode, because the way we animate the horse mode right now is that we have the animal, and we have the player that we teleport above the animal, and we sync their animations visually. So visually, you think they are like linked together in a way. But with Grapple Z, we may just be able to actually link both together. And this will probably allow us to implement shooting from the horseback, attacking with weapons, way easier than with our current system, which is a pure pain to work with. So I would say this is what I'm the most excited about. And the reason I'm excited about it is because it's currently not available to load custom action groups from mods. So if you want custom action groups, you need to modify existing vanilla files with your own and add custom files manually. So the users will need to manually install specific files to actually have custom action groups in the mod. And the thing is that, yes, exactly. So they will be their own thing on their side, but they are linked with the animations. And this is what the grappling when you carry bodies around uses, because the corpse you move is actually a zombie corpse, but it's actually a zombie. It's not a corpse when you move it. So they create a zombie that is just dead and doesn't move and can't attack you, and it links with animations to the player, and then the player can move the zombie around. And yeah, I think that's the most exciting about. And you may have heard about AnimZ. That's a tool that's going to come out when they did all the fixing of the stable version. Inshallah, because they were supposed to release it in fucking build 41, but to my knowledge, it's not out yet. And we've been waiting for years for this shit. And I mean, yes, I guess not that much, but like they said they would release it and they didn't. And they said they would release it at the start of build 42 and they didn't. And now we know it's going to release with the stable release. And I really hope they actually fucking release it. But this tool would allow us to have custom animations implemented easier. It's not going to do everything for you, but it's going to make it easier. And if we want to implement, for example, Grapple Z and custom animals, they need to fix this shit. Because one of the main reasons you don't see a lot of animal mods is, one, it takes a lot of animation work, so you actually need to be good with animations. But the worst is that you need to go around this problem to make an animal mod. So sometimes you will see modders that will just straight up fuck one of the existing animals to implement their own animal. And like, first off, that's fucked up because you don't have to do that. But you can't also blame them 100% because they have to work around a system that is just broken and not properly implemented. Well, they probably do what we do. They walk around it. It's called like that, right? My guess is they do it. So let me check quickly. So you can see I'm going to search in an existing mod files. I can't speak, like it's too late now. I've been speaking for 3 hours now. Losing my voice too. So let's see. See, they use a raccoon. So my guess is they don't overwrite the raccoon. So let's check it out. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, they use the raccoon animations. Oh my god, okay. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so you can see they actually didn't do a single animation for their mod. You can see that because they don't have an anims X folder. So they use the raccoon animations to implement their dogs. That's cool, okay. Never mind then. They didn't even need to do that. Okay. I guess they made the dogs look right with the raccoon animations. I guess it just works. Wait, actually I'm curious. Did they define a raccoon anymore? Oh, I guess. Yeah, they did a new animal. Wait, is it written? My writing read wrong or what? Oh, it's yeah. So, oh, that's very interesting actually. Yep, here. So they use the raccoon anim set, but they don't overwrite the raccoon. It's a new animal, but they use the animations from the raccoon. Okay, well, you see, that was quite an interesting experience. So the dogs are raccoons. Okay, interesting. What other animal does it? At least doesn't use this shit. I I actually don't know many other animals. That's a problem. I don't think like there's a serious lack of custom animals, and that's one of the reasons. The first animal mod I saw was a cow, chocolate milk. I think it just modifies. I think it just modifies the milk output of the cows, and then I think there was a strawberry pink cow. Yeah, but this one they didn't need animations to, and they just had to retexture. Oh, I forgot they did that too. Oh, they actually did every animals. Big. So this is just a retexture. Oh my god, the strawberry pink with the strawberry language in game. Oh my god. Yes, there's a homunculus mod. That's one of the first one too. And yeah, it's a retextured pig. This one. So it's just a pig, but a cursed one. Yeah, the Among Us pig. Yeah, the strawberry cow. Hell yeah. Oh my god. That's so fitting. So for those that don't understand what we're talking about the strawberries, there's a strawberry language now in the game. That's actually the first thing I found when the game updated and I looked at the game files. It was the strawberry language. Because I actually had to document it. Strawberry language. Now I need to remember where the option is. Yeah, strawberry. It's strawberry everywhere. Wait, which one is the options? No, it's not this one. Give me back my options. Give me back my English. Jesus. Perfect. All right. And that's basically it. Strawberry, strawberry, strawberry. I love to imagine just people speaking the strawberry having to do specific intonation for each word based on their meaning. Ah yes, strawberry, 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 strawberry. Yeah, fucking hell, good luck with that. All right, and I think that concludes the sit down Sunday. Yes, it was recorded, so you will be able to watch the thing from the start. You murdered the strawberry. Hell yeah. All right, well, thank you for listening to my TED talk. Hey everyone. So thank you for watching this sit down Sunday. This was a fairly long one too. I didn't expect it to last this long. I guess there was a lot of chatting with the people that were present at the end. But yes, thank you for watching it. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them either in the comments of the video, or you can directly contact me on the project Zomboid modding. All right. Thank you and bye bye. Where we learned that raccoons are actually dogs and dogs are raccoons. The Z Talk. Oh, hell yeah. I know that. We should rename it Z Talk. Why did Czech not name it that way? The dog coon, yeah. PZ Talk. Oh, damn. With silent P. uh, fucking hell. Well, I'm probably not going to edit the video tonight. I think I'm going to take a small break after this 3 hours and a half. But yeah, just checking my recording didn't crash. That would be fucked up. So yeah, and like I guess I didn't say it, but in the next sit down Sundays, yeah, that will happen. You can actually come and talk if you ever want to. Like if you want to explain something, add some clarifications. There's a small button you can press. I don't think I will have it, but there's a button here where you can like raise your hand, and we can accept you to join. So like if someone tested. No, fuck, I can't speak shit. Yes, request to speak. So if one of you press it, I can show you what it looks like for us. Yes, if you press it. So I can actually accept you this way.
And that's basically how I do it.
Oh Jesus, your sound is. Yes. So people can come and speak on stage. Why is my sound so loud? So yeah, I can probably kick people too. I don't know. Oh yeah. So yeah, don't hesitate if you want to speak, unless it's like a presentation where the guy doesn't want to. I guess my yes, we can play the elevator music. I will always put it at the start of the videos. Um, da, 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 um, so yeah, it was a presentation with slides. That's not something the other people did. I don't know if you guys have seen the other sit down Sundays or not. like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer when the guy is just here speaking and showing things? Or like, does it make sense to have slides? I thought in my case it was more fitting than showing, because it was like, in my experience making videos, it can get easily messy. Like usually when I make my videos, I start by making a like a dry run, or where I know it's not going to be the final recording, but it's going to be a recording where I see what I want to talk about, and it's always a mess. It was a mess when I did the presentation for the Lua documentation. I had to make slides. It was like impossible without it. What is that? Oh. Hey. What? I can't see the chat. Oh, okay, I see. Oh, that's cool actually. That's cool to know. Giga chat Wumpus. That's such a hidden thing. You can't access it easily, no? You kind of have to know about it. Can I pause it? What does it do? Oh, okay. God damn, okay. So Discord icon 15 times. Where? What Discord icon? This? Wait. Oh, what? That's amazing. What? I didn't know that was a thing. Oh, it doesn't do it anymore. It's on neons. Oh. I didn't know about that one. I think there's one with like keypoints on. I don't fucking know. Anim sound modes? Wait, what do you mean it toggles it? Wait. What does it sound like when you... Wait. Can someone DM me? Just to see what the notification sounds like. But it's normal. There's nothing special. What does it change? When you open Discord, it will make an anim sound now. Oh, Jesus. What part of France I am from? The West. Center West. I'm not going to give more information to not dox myself. Yeah, it does a Discord leaving sound when you... How did I learn English so well? My life story. So, it was mostly from internet, I would say. I learned, let's say, like the vocabulary was internet. I learned how to read specific sentences and learn how to, I guess, like guess what specific words I don't know of mean. And I'm really good at it usually, like from the context of the sentence, at least. And yeah, it taught me vocabulary because I was watching like Minecraft videos and stuff like that, or learning Minecraft and learning Minecraft. That's kind of an insane thing to say. Same thing, like I remember watching like PewDiePie, but watching like French translation of PewDiePie. It was back then where he was already starting to be big, and there was a guy that took his videos and he made like subtitles of his videos. And I just wanted to understand what the hell people were saying online. So I learned English, and then I perfected it lately with some more intensive, I guess, English in college, where it taught me to have a proper pronunciation and stuff like that, and at least say it well, I guess, or at least speak well. And since then, I've been like talking English every day. I would even argue more than French in some cases, which is insane. Which is kind of insane to say, but like I'm so much online, like at least I guess like I was a lot online. Now I'm less online these days. I'm still a lot, but yeah. What do you mean, me argue? French can be hard. Like I have an Italian friend. She got to France for a PhD, and she had to learn French, and she learned French. But the thing is that she's like, how do you say it? Like she's wait, is it extroverted? It's not the word actually. I don't know English. God, I'm not sure. No, that's not the word. I mean, oh yeah, extroverted. No, extroverted, not introverted. And like she just loves speaking to people. So she got in France. She didn't speak French. She learned French in a year or two, and now she speaks it really well. But I'm the kind of guy when I speak, I don't um I don't take the time to say my sentences in a way, my words, and so sometimes it's hard to understand me because I will speak fast. Even in English, that's something I have a problem with. But in general, I tend to speak very fast. So the first time she spoke to me, she was still learning French, and she was suffering for it. And now we are like amazing friends. Is it possible to make a plane mode? Yes. But why do you want to remove collision? um, so the helicopter mod suffered a bit with the fuck, I can't think anymore. The reflection removal, but apparently they re-added something that allows you to actually do that now. Um, so basically, you would have to remove any controls from the vehicle and just manually control where it goes, how it moves. Yes, the helicopter modes do have collision now because vehicles can finally swap fuck flow. They can swap flow now, and so you can actually have collision with the helicopter and the overflows and walls and stuff like that. Hazel has been suffering with his chicken gun for a while. Yeah, now vehicles on overflows work really well. I don't know if you've seen that, but there are ramps in the game now. That's something we found fairly early in Build 42 release. So vehicles can actually swap, like at least you can have ramps and do cool tricks and shit like that. Let me make a test world quickly. Boom. My god, it's so hot. It depends which vehicle actually. Back when I tried, there were some vehicles that worked better than others. I think it was a question of whenever the front of your vehicle is like long or not in front of your wheels. I think there's actually specific technical words for that shit, but so if you go ramps, boom, you have a ramp. What gun mod? I'm not using any gun mod. Sorry, baby. So we spawn a vehicle. No, not the weight distribution. Maybe it's linked to that at the end of the day, but it was more for like the nose of the vehicle, you know, like the distance between this wheel and the front bumper. Ah, fucking hell. Let me guess, they still haven't added the right click option to get the key. Oh, I guess that's why. Yeah. Oh my god. Fucking hell. I think that's that. I think that adds fuel, if I remember right. We just nuke the zombies. Whoa! What? Oh shit, I'm not watching Mushroom. Oh fuck. Yes, thank you everyone for passing by. It's 10 p.m. I need to eat. I'm in God mode, so I can't die. Thank you guys. I think that wraps it up. People won't give a shit in the VOD of this part. I'll probably mark it as like chit-chatting or some shit. That one physics mod and also ramp. Hmm. I took a break like an hour ago or so. A break of 5 minutes or some shit. Yeah. I will record the conclusion of this sit down Sunday and leave the video in my in a folder for a day. Come back to it tomorrow. Fleet physics implemented. Oh Jesus. I mean, I know that would be horrible to do. I have no idea. I mean, I have some ideas of how we could do that, but fucking hell no. Good luck adding waves. I guess you could add waves. I think that's definitely doable, actually. I don't think it will be that hard to buildable stairs that face downward. Oh, building from the top of the stairs. I mean, you see, guys, you have a lot of fancy ideas. So I'm trusting you'll be able to make awesome mods by modifying zombie models. Fucking hell. No, you need to ragdoll ISO player instances into fluid. Paint them blue. That gonna, yeah. Got it. I mean, if you want floors that go, stairs that go down, there's the basement mod by Albion. Yes, thank you everyone for passing by. I'll see, maybe I'll do a new one on other subjects in the future. Maybe on implementing animals. That might be a rough one because you need animations, but I don't know. I have to think about it. At least I went over the things I'm like expert in at the very least. But yeah, if you got questions, don't hesitate to ask them around. I'm very active, especially these days. I'm in holidays, so usually you can see me around at least. Maybe a bit less at the end of next week. We'll see. Okay, I'm done.